Willie D. Live.
What's up, family? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced a new front to protect Christians in the Middle East and Africa, specifically Nigeria. Check him out.
I see the battle against us and the battle against our Judeo-Christian tradition basically being waged around the globe. And it's waged primarily by two forces, radical Shiite Islam and radical Sunni Islam. That means the axis that is led by Iran, much battered, admittedly, but still there, and the axis, the Sunni axis, led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which permeates everything. They go to Europe, they go to the United States, they go to Africa, Nigeria. And we are conscious of the fact that Christians are being persecuted across the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Nigeria, in Turkey, and beyond. And we're also aware of the fact, as you are, that one country protects the Christian community, enables it to grow, defends it, and makes sure that it thrives. And that country is Israel. There is no other. And we are joining an effort to have basically a United Nations of countries that support Christian communities around the world, beleaguered communities who deserve our help, just as you are helping us. We want to help back. And we're capable of doing that. In Africa with Intel, in the Middle East with a lot of means that I won't itemize each one. But this is what our agenda is. It's the main part of our agenda. And it's going to continue with greater force and greater might in this coming year. I want to use this opportunity to wish you all, well, it's kind of late for a Merry Christmas, but a belated Happy Christmas, and not a belated, and on time, a Happy New Year. May it be a year of prosperity, peace, and security for all of us, but especially for the Christian communities around the world. So thank you, and Happy New Year to all of you.
What's so damn special about the Christian community? I want to know. Look, and listen, fam. Hey, no offense to Christians. No offense to you. I have no problem with people's religion. You can look at every religion out there and find something wrong. You can find something that you disagree with. Every religion. In every religion, you can find something that you disagree with. So what the hell make Christians so special? Besides the fact that individually, you are special. You know what I mean? Like individually. You know, you look at it individually. You're special. Everybody's special and unique individually. But as a group, collectively, what the hell make Christians so special that their lives are worth saving and everybody else's lives are expendable? I'll wait. Because last time I checked, it was Christians who have slaughtered people all over the world. It's Christians who held up slavery longer than anybody. And it's still going on to this day. Yeah, you got some Muslims out there practicing slavery. Yeah. And those uncivilized mutts need to be brought to heel. But the Christians have led the pack longer than anybody. What makes them so damn special? Oh, I get it. Because I'm a Christian. I prioritize Christians. So therefore, if you have a problem with a Christian, you have a problem with me. So I'm really supposed to believe that Benjamin Netanyahu, the guy all the way over in Israel, who represents Israel and all of his interests, all of a sudden cares about black people of any religion. You got to be short, bus, window licking slow to believe that. You must be the biggest damn fool on planet Earth if you really believe that he wants to enter Africa and other Middle Eastern countries to somehow liberate the people, liberate the Christians. Let me tell you something. I'm talking to you Africans in Nigeria specifically. If you Muslim and Christian Nigerians don't get your shit together ASAP, the colonizers are going to make all of y'all lives a living hell. If you think, Christian Nigerian, that the Muslim Nigerian is causing you problems, where do you get along with your colonizer? You Muslim Nigerians, if you think you have a problem with the Christians, you have no idea what your colonizers have in store for you. They are coming for your petroleum. They are coming for your cassava, your bitumen, your gold, your lead, your zinc, your cocoa. On and on. They want all of your resources, your agriculture. They want your land.
Uranium.
Hey, man. If you don't govern yourselves, you will give the uncivilized mutts of the world an excuse to swoop in and govern you themselves. They'll take your stuff, like whatever you think, however bad you think you might have it, you ain't got no idea how bad it's gonna get. All you suckers out there who fell for America's propaganda in regards to Libya, they was talking about how bad Libya was, how bad Gaddafi was treating his citizens. When the citizens in Libya had free health care, they had free housing, they had food. If you had a specific skill set and you wanted to go to the next level with your education, they would pay for your education outside of Libya. You could go to another country and the government would pay for it. They had free education in their country. Libya wasn't perfect, but it was 1,000 times better than it is today. Let me remind you, there has never been a time in history that America has went into a country to so-called liberate it and left that country better off than it was before they invaded. And it ain't gonna be any different with Israel. They are one of the same. And let me tell you something else. Netanyahu said that Israel was the only country that really cared about Christians. They're the only country. Well, that's going to be a problem because I'm sure the reporters are going to drill Trump on his claims of caring about the Nigerian Christians and going to do something about it. And Netanyahu just totally dismissed him. Like, man, we're the only country that care. Which, you know, at this point, they're in a race to tell the biggest lie. Because we know Trump, Netanyahu, and none of the rest of them care anything about black Christians or any black people. In fact, they don't care about Christians. Let's keep it a buck. They really don't care about Christians. If they did, there wouldn't be so many Christians dying around the world and slaughtering each other. If they really cared about Christians, they would teach Christians how to love Christians first. Because most of the Christians I see getting killed around the world are being killed by Christians. The West and its allies want us to believe that there's some type of religious war going on in Africa, in Nigeria specifically. They're primarily fighting over ethnic tension, competition over resources, land, water. They're fighting over political power struggles. They're fighting over extremist group activity. Those are the roots that they're using because they know there's a lot of suckers out there that ride with that. What can we do? Christians, that's the best. I'm surprised that's the best that they can do. They usually make up a lie so grand that, and it's scary. They make it really, really scary for everybody. They make it seem like they're trying to liberate everybody, all of the citizens, but they actually picked a side. Like, no, we're going to fight anybody that's fighting Christians. A religious war. So when people talk about religion all the time, and they talk about how dangerous religion is, this is what they're talking about. How people use religion to justify war, to justify genocide. And it's been used throughout history. This is what they're talking about. This is why there's been such a mass exodus from the church. When they want to go over and do something wicked, they're never invited, first of all. Nobody invites them. They always invite themselves to try to solve other people's problem, allegedly. But really, what it is an opportunity when they see unrest, when they see the beefing and the bickering, it's an opportunity for them to swoop in and play the hero. But really, they're going in to see what they can get out of it. It's a land grab. It's a resource grab. It's a money grab. That's what it boils down to. It ain't got nothing to do with religion. But the slowpokes will believe anything that comes out of their mouths. When they've been doing this stuff for a long time. This is the way that they get the masses to get on board with the program. They just create a scenario. Just make up some shit. And next thing you know, everybody on like, yeah, well, I guess the world is a little safer place. You fool, the person that went over there and initiated all of the killing, that's the one who makes the world a more dangerous place. If that person was gone, that's how you make the world a safer place. But they're able to get off the way that they get off because they're in the position of power. And y'all know how it go, fam. The winners write history. So that's why you have to take everything that you see in writing with a grain of salt. But we'll see you, fam. Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.
The number one offender type is biological fathers, but by far it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good job this time that we call them out. Not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing. We're going through a case, the guy that has already been put away and convicted of his crime was abusing. Then we're looking at what he was doing it on, and he was doing it on a Florida Gator blanket. And I was thinking, man, it's probably someone that was rooting for the Gators. Probably someone that maybe is a fan or likes the Gators. No, this is how personal this is. Maybe it's someone that's in the stadium watching us play. Like, this isn't far off or far across around the world. Even sometimes members of Congress will say to us, you know, we got to worry about our backyard. No, we're talking about our backyard. This is our backyard.
And look, you already know, on this channel, we hold racist Caucasian people accountable. Because if we don't, who will? And before we start this video, if you don't like black people, black issues, black talks, get the step. According
like the truth about who you are was locked away, not erased, not destroyed, just sealed, buried, hidden behind the wrong maps, the wrong faces, the wrong names. They told us to look to Rome, to Jerusalem, to the Renaissance, but the door was never there. Because in 2025, a vault was opened, not in the West, not in Europe, but in Iran. And what came out wasn't gold or weapons, it was memory. Inside ancient Persian scrolls, royal records, descriptions of a people once called Israel, black-skinned, wool-haired, from the line of Cush, from the lands of Ethiopia, from the heart of Africa. This isn't a theory. This isn't rebellion. This is a revelation. A story buried beneath empire, repainted by colonizers, rewritten in cathedrals. But now we are unsealing it. If you've ever wondered why the Bible seems familiar, if you've ever felt something deeper when you heard the name Yahweh, if you've ever questioned why your ancestors were stripped of their names, their language, their Sabbath, then stay with me. Because this is not just a history lesson. It's the return of the first memory. And it begins in the one place no one thought to look, ancient Iran. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the scroll that changed everything, the one that describes the Israelites in a way no Western museum dares to admit. What it says will challenge everything you thought you knew about race faith and divine identity. Let's go. Part 1. Persia's prophecy, black faces in the scrolls. They say the victors write the history books. But what happens when a history is written by someone who wasn't trying to win, but trying to remember? In 2025, the Iranian National Archives quietly declassified a cache of ancient documents. They weren't paraded across news headlines. They weren't posted on museum walls. But if you read them carefully and slowly, they whisper a story the West was never meant to hear. These weren't fairy tales. They were royal records, census scrolls, temple decrees, written during the reign of Cyrus the Great, the Persian king who conquered Babylon and let the Israelites return home. But in these records, the Israelites didn't look like the ones on stained glass windows in Europe. They were described with skin as the bronze of Nubia, with coiled hair like the kings of Cush. They were counted not just as a people in exile, but as a people related to Cushites, Sabians, and Ethiopians. And suddenly, the silence made sense. You see, the Bible says a lot about Cush. Cush was the son of Ham, and his descendants settled in the regions we now call Sudan, Ethiopia, parts of southern Egypt. Throughout the Old Testament, Cushites show up not as foreigners, but as warriors, scribes, prophets, even protectors of God's people. But here's what changes everything. In a Persian military register dated to 538 BCE, less than a year after Babylon fell, there is a list of skilled artisans and priests being resettled. Among them are sons of the house of Israel, described with distinctive terms, dark of face with hair tightly wound, speaking a tongue related to the people of Punt and Saba. That's not Europe, that's East Africa. Even more striking, a temple decree from Darius I, preserved in fragments from Susa, refers to a covenant people exiled from the lands of Cush and brought north by force. This flips the narrative on its head. Because if the Israelites weren't just in Babylon, but had roots stretching far south into the kingdoms of Cush and Saba, then what we've been told about where Israel began is incomplete at best and deliberately altered at worst. Let's pause here. You may be wondering, how could something this significant be ignored for so long? The answer is uncomfortable. When Western scholars began translating and interpreting ancient texts in the 18th and 19th centuries, they weren't neutral. Many were funded by empires that built their power on the transatlantic slave trade, on colonizing Africa, on convincing the world that black skin meant savagery, not sacredness. So when ancient Persian texts described Israelites in African terms, those passages were footnoted, dismissed, or simply never translated for the public. But one passage they couldn't erase, because it's right in our Bibles, is Isaiah 45:1. Thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have held. Let that sink in. God calls Cyrus, the Persian king, his anointed. In Hebrew, that word is Mashiach. Yes, the same word we translate as Messiah. Now ask yourself, why would a pagan king be called Messiah? Unless God was using an outsider to protect the true insiders, a people who had been cast out, conquered, scattered, a people described by Persian eyes as dark-skinned, curly-haired children of covenant. The prophet Isaiah didn't just praise Cyrus for military victory. He claimed that Yahweh himself was behind Cyrus's rise for the sake of Jacob Israel, my chosen. That's not just political, that's prophetic. Let's return to those scrolls. Another fragment found in Persepolis refers to the singers of Yahweh whose chants echo the melodies of the Cushite mothers. In one poetic verse, the scribes note that the Israelites mourned in the language of the south, but worshipped in the name of the northern sky. This isn't random poetry, it's theology. And it confirms a truth long buried that the Israelites weren't born in Europe, but remembered Africa. Now imagine you're a Persian scribe living centuries before Jesus, watching these displaced people rebuild their identity. You notice their customs, their music, their language. You record them not as white-robed pilgrims from the north, but as Africans bearing a flame of faith. That's what these scrolls reveal. And here's where the twist sharpens. The book of Ezra. Part of our own Bible tells us that Cyrus not only allowed the Israelites to return to Jerusalem, he funded the rebuilding of the temple. He ordered that the gold and silver taken by Nebuchadnezzar be restored. But Ezra doesn't describe what the people looked like. The Persian documents do. They saw them as Africans, as people from south of the river of Ethiopia, as those who bore the songs of Sheba and the fire of Yahweh. So let me ask you, if the people who returned to Jerusalem were dark-skinned descendants of Cush, if the Persian kings called them sacred prophetic chosen, if the Bible calls Cyrus a Messiah for what he did for them, then why does every children's Bible still draw them with pale skin and blue eyes? The answer is not academic, it's political and spiritual. Because if the Israelites were black, then everything changes. The story of redemption is no longer European in tone. The image of holiness no longer wears a powdered wig. It looks like you. It looks like your grandfather. It looks like a forgotten people remembered by Persia and erased by empire. And this is only the beginning. Because in the next section, we'll explore how the face of the Bible was systematically altered through Renaissance art, colonial theology, and even church doctrine. You'll see how an entire culture was built on not seeing what Persia saw clearly. So stay with me, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you remember it, you'll never read the Bible the same way again. Part 2. When God Turned White. If ancient Persia remembered the Israelites as black, then how did we forget? How did the children of Cush, the sons of Jacob, once described with bronze skin and coiled hair, become pale figures with flowing blonde locks draped in royal blue? The answer begins in paint and ends in power. Let's begin in Renaissance Europe. By the 1400s, Christianity had become not just a religion, but a political tool wielded by monarchs, popes, and empires. It was no longer about remembering God's people. It was about controlling the image of God himself. So the artists got to work. Look at Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. Jesus sitting among his disciples is pale-skinned, narrow-faced, and European in every detail. His disciples, the same. No traces of desert sun, no features of the Middle East, certainly no echoes of Cush or Ethiopia. It is not a scene from ancient Judea. It is a dinner party in Florence. But go back a few centuries earlier and you'll see something different. In the oldest Christian churches of Ethiopia, Jesus is shown with deep brown skin, woolly hair, and eyes shaped like those of the people around him. The apostles look like sons of Africa, not citizens of Rome. Even in early Coptic art from Egypt, Mary and baby Jesus are dark-skinned. In catacomb paintings from the 2nd and 3rd centuries, the Messiah has features more Semitic or African than any later European reinterpretation. So what changed? The turning point came with Constantine. When Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire, it began to serve a new master imperial politics. And in the centuries that followed, as the empire's center of gravity shifted north and west, so too did its image of the divine.
What if your family tree just stopped? No records, no names, no proof you even existed. For thousands of black families in America, this isn't a mystery. It's by design. We're not talking about lost documents or bad record keeping. We're talking about laws, real laws, written down, signed, enforced. Laws that took children from their parents. Laws that erased marriages. Laws that made it illegal to pass down land or even use your own last name. Today we're going to show you how the American legal system broke over 1,000 black family lines on purpose, and how most people have no idea it even happened. A child could be sold the day after they were born. A mother could be sent to one state, her son to another. The father? Maybe a third state. And this wasn't random cruelty. It was business. Plantation owners knew that keeping families together made people harder to control, so they broke them apart. On purpose. We found newspaper ads from the 1800s. Ads selling children. Ads looking for runaway mothers. Ads that listed kids by age and price, like furniture. One ad from South Carolina in 1852. Healthy Negro boy, age 7, good teeth, sold separate from mother. That's not a horror story. That's a legal transaction. By some estimates, 1 in 3 enslaved families was split up by sale. That's hundreds of thousands of families, hundreds of thousands of family trees cut in half. And when slavery ended, you'd think that would stop, but it didn't. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We want to hear from you. 1865. Slavery is over. Families should be free to reunite, right? Wrong. Almost immediately, southern states passed something called the Black Codes. These were laws designed to control black people after slavery ended. One of the worst parts? Vagrancy laws. If you were black and didn't have a job, you could be arrested. If you were arrested, you'd be forced to work. And if you had kids, the state could take them. They called it apprenticeship. Sounds nice. But here's what it really was. They took black children from their parents and gave them to white families or businesses to work for free. In Mississippi, over 1,000 black children were taken this way in just 2 years after the Civil War ended. The parents had no say. The law said they were unfit. The law said the kids needed proper guardians. It was slavery with a new name. Then came Jim Crow. More laws. Laws that said where you could live, where you could work, who you could marry. And if you broke those laws, you went to prison. And if you went to prison, your kids went to an institution or another family. The cycle kept going. Now let's talk about marriage. In many states, it was illegal for a black person to marry a white person. These were called anti-miscegenation laws. And they stayed on the books until 1967. If you were caught in a mixed-race marriage, it was a crime. You could go to jail. Your marriage was void. Your kids were considered illegitimate. But it gets worse. Some states went back and changed birth records. They reclassified people. If you were listed as white on your birth certificate, they'd change it to black, or to mulatto, or to colored. Why? To control who could own land, who could vote, who could inherit property. In Virginia, a man named Walter Plecker ran the Bureau of Vital Statistics for decades. He personally changed thousands of records. He decided who was white and who wasn't. Families that had lived as white for generations were suddenly reclassified.